Let's meet our speakers. Let's start with you, Brad. How is the weather down there in Houston? I think last time we spoke, Hurricane Delta was making landfall.
Yeah. Houston is today. It's sunny and warm, around 80 degrees, and so far no storms in the horizon. So we're fortunate for that.
Great. You want to intro yourself?
Yeah, Brad McFarland, National Vice President of Environment, Health and Safety. I'm responsible for all health and safety for the building business unit.
Wonderful. Chris, good to see you. How was vacation?
Vacation was great. Yep. And so it's always good when you can get away a little bit.
Fantastic. And would love to hear a little bit more about you.
Well, as you said, I'm Chris Torre. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for US Building. And really my role and responsibilities at the company are setting up the enterprise-wide operational standards, guidelines, procedures, basically all the things that we do, in responding to our customers on the front lines.
Fantastic. Last but not least, Clay, how's it? How things in Atlanta?
Bright and sunny here as well. So it looks like all three of us have good weather days. So that's a rare thing in the country right now, it seems like. Doing well here. My name's Clay Hayden. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer and General Counsel. So I wear two hats in the company. Obviously, as the General Counsel, I'm responsible for the legal function and legal staff. As Chief Administrative Officer, however, I really am responsible for a lot of our backhouse functions. As a construction company, Chris is really looking to the projects and execution of our projects around the country. And as the backhouse function is all the professional service groups in the background, I help coordinate activities amongst them. And then some of the core administrative functions around even our corporate offices and how those are leased and built out and administered.
Fantastic. So guys, appreciate you doing some intros, and I guess let's just jump into the questions. I know you guys have a lot of pretty amazing stories to share. So the first one is, a lot of companies had to rapidly adapt their work practices since COVID-19 spread across the country earlier this year. With that in mind, if you guys look back to, say, for example, December 2019, that timeframe, what did you guys have in place that helped you as you prepared for and adapted to the pandemic?
Well, I'll jump in here. Back in that time frame, there were a few things that, frankly, fell the right way for us, just in terms of where we were as a company. And I think we're going to talk about some of those coming up. But first and foremost, we had just gone through an exercise of kind of reorganizing our corporate leadership. We were a company that, over a series of about a decade, we had gone through acquisitions, consolidated those acquisitions and built a corporate structure that went coast to coast, corner to corner. And we were at a point in our development where we said, you know what, we need to kind of step back from that, realign all of our various functions in the best way with the right leaders so they can operate efficiently and effectively. And so we created some new roles. We have our Chief Operating Officer, Chris Torre, who introduced himself earlier, who oversees the operational functions, really directed more towards the frontline projects. We had my role as a Chief Administrative Officer with the backhouse functions, and then we had a Chief Strategy Officer, which we pulled together a collection of functions around the company that were really more forward-thinking, more innovative, and put them under a single leader. And that really proved to be very beneficial to us when the crisis hit, because we had really just thought through how to best streamline all our functions to make them more efficient and effective. And that came into play, as you'll see as we talk today, on many occasions.
Chris or Brad, what about you guys? Thoughts on, as you're thinking back on, December 2019, any thoughts on things that really helped you guys be ready for and quickly react?
Well, I can say from our perspectives, from a kind of a systems, we were we were already moving everything into the, the cloud-based supplier end of things, with using Box, WebEx, getting everybody on the DocuSign platform, and then obviously moving into Procore was one of our major steps that we took in advance of that. So really getting all of our project management systems on something where, we had the ultimate mobility. So I think that when that hit and we moved to a more remote working scenario, we had everything ready to go. I don't think we had envisioned COVID-19, but nonetheless, the backbone was all there for adapting to what was going to become the new normal.
Absolutely. Brad,
Yeah,
what about you?
I'll build off what Chris said there. Our safety manual is on an internal platform called Planet, and it's a web-based platform that manages our safety manual. So what we did when COVID hit is we went into our safety manual and updated our infectious disease section to include all of our COVID guidelines and controls. And we were able to send that out the next day to all of our subcontractors, and automatically overnight, all of their work plans were updated to include all of the new COVID material. So, using that web-based program, we were able to send it out in real time. As well, we have what we call our daily hazard analysis. That was also updated to include COVID-related questions, just to make sure that we were putting the right precautions and procedures in place before people went to work. So without that web-based platform, we would have been probably weeks away from getting all that material out and in the hands of the workforce.
Probably the other thing too, a couple of years back, we had made a decision to invest in WebEx at the time, and that's what we use today. And so we had already acclimated our workforce to these remote working tools over the past couple of years. So unlike a lot of other companies that were scrambling to learn what we're on today, for example, Zoom, we already had an enterprise-wide solution in place, familiar with our people. So between the web-based tools, the realignment, and the technology of that we deployed already for web-based working, we really were fortunate and positioned well to really move pretty seamlessly to the remote working environment.
Yeah, fantastic. So that's kind of a snapshot of December, looking at what tools you guys had put in place, processes that you guys had already sort of waiting for you. If you're moving forward to January, news is beginning to spread about the potential of a global pandemic. Obviously, this is not something that we've seen before. With the role that each of you plays at Skanska, how did you guys find yourselves beginning to prepare?
Well, again, we got a little lucky, and we'll always take a little luck. There's good planning and good investment, but then luck has a role to play. And fortunately, in February, late February, we just happened to be coming together for all of our leadership, our top leadership and all of our regional leadership were all together in Raleigh-Durham at that time for a meeting that had been scheduled. And so we had all of our, functional leadership for all our professional service groups as part of our leadership team were there as well.
I'd add into that too. And, as this progressed and as we left February and headed into March, we were trying to figure out how to make sure we were balancing the health and welfare of our folks, but also tend to the business that had to get done. I don't know if you know or not, but in most of the regions that we worked in or work in, we were deemed as an essential service. So it wasn't really an option of, are we going to work? It's like, yes, we are going to work, but now how do we do it, and how do we really do it safely?
Yep.
And I think that was really the big thrust of this. And we, as a national company, Brad mentioned this, but we started a COVID group that was representatives from all three of our business units working across the country. And I was very happy that we, really leveraged the combined learning and strength of this organization to really put our workers first and foremost in this, to make sure that if we were going to put them out in the job sites, we had to do that safely. And we also had to, take care of those people that had health conditions or people that were vulnerable in their own lives, make sure that we had ways to keep them moving and keep them safe. And that really, took us to construction site in a lot of ways, because that really provided us a link between our job sites and those people that had to work remotely. We had a lot of projects that were looking at construction site in advance of this, and once we saw the benefits and power there, we went all in on an enterprise agreement, as you guys know, to bring that front and center in our new remote working standards. So we had to get those best practices in place, and we had to keep our people safe.
I can recall at the time, a lot of these things that we're talking about today, technology-wise, were in our innovation group, where we were experimenting, we were piloting, and COVID quickly taught us that we had to figure out how to make these things that we kind of viewed as experiments to make them fully operational, like overnight. And I remember Anita Nelson, our chief strategy officer, I remember a conversation with her early on, and she oversees that group that works in this innovation space. And we had a conversation about, okay, how do we take all these things and put them to use with this new remote working environment, realizing that, hey, we may have superintendents in the field who have to be quarantined, right? But still have to inspect the work and to keep monitoring things. How are we going to do that? So a lot of these tools, construction site and other things, we really just had to figure out, how do we get these known? So Anita and her team quickly put out guidance and information on how to use these tools, how to use this equipment, and we got it pushed out to job sites in record time.
Yeah, I mean, before I toss it over to you here, Brad, I can say that there was sort of a tale of two different types of businesses that we saw heading into and after the pandemic. Again, this is just our perspective, was very much like the ones who had committed to resources to technology like this came out on the other side, in pretty great shape, all things considered. And then that was not necessarily the case that we saw for all businesses across the board, because just there was varying levels of adoption with these types of technologies that allow for remote work. So yeah, I mean, obviously kudos to you guys for seeing the value of that and jumping on it well ahead of even this. But Brad, I know that there's probably a lot that changed related to, safety, PPE requirements, infection control. I'd love to kind of hear sort of like your thoughts on what the world was looking like for you at this time.
Yeah, I mean, we basically had to push pause on everything and just kind of take a step back and really do some thinking in regards to, how are we going to keep our workforce safe? And, working from 6 feet to your coworker, in a lot of trades has never been done before. So, we really had to take a look at that. And, something as simple as coming to the job site and standing in line. Some of these places you've got to brass in on. We had to put lines to show where 6 feet was, even entering into the job site. And even before entering, we had to look at the parking. So in all aspects of the job, we had to kind of take a pause and look at it. I remember looking at our stretch and flex post-COVID. Typically we could get by in a relatively small space because we stood relatively close to one another. Now with the 6 feet requirements, I mean, we were taking up massive parking areas to do stretch and flex. So everything had to be relooked at. And then I remember one of the things that we quickly jumped on was the need to share best practices. And there's one picture that stands out well, I think, to all of us at Skanska is one of our superintendents in a big red 6-foot stick. And that was his way of walking around and ensuring people are at 6 feet. I mean, it may seem primitive, but that's kind of where we started at. And that's something that kind of built, and we shared that. And we got the operations groups together to start sharing what they're doing to ensure their workers are working safe, working at 6 feet, and sharing their best practices. So that kind of spun into more discussions around our technology. We had a wearable technology named Triax. It's a device that you could put on the person, and if someone came within 6 feet of you, there would be an audible alarm. So we used that. We also used another technology. It was a video auditing technology called AeroSight, where we were able to identify when workers were coming within 6 feet if they weren't wearing a mask. And we were able to take that information, learn from it, use it as a coaching moment. So we did have some technology opportunities to help us take COVID kind of to the next level.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What about, I guess, just thinking about shifting the workforce to working remotely, and also just communication? What were some of the things you guys were doing at that time?
Well, we had the beauty is that because we had these groups that we formed that were really cross-functional. We were able to kind of address the two different environments because you had our project sites, which presented different challenges than corporate offices. And in some ways, at least with some of the job sites, you had a lot of open air space. You had an open environment in a lot of projects. Whereas obviously in the corporate office setting, you're in an enclosed environment with HVAC and closed doors and people in tight spaces. We, like every other company, we're moving towards more kind of densification of employees and open floor plans, which, when we embarked upon those sounded like a great idea, but then COVID hits and you start to question whether that's going to work. So we quickly had to start analyzing that environment as well. So we brought these teams together. We're having to troubleshoot all this guidance. Well, you remember early on, we had a lot of guidance, not a lot of mandates. Yeah. So it was really left up to us to decide, okay, how are we going to make use of this guidance? How do we apply it to our specific situations in the field and in the corporate office? And then we were also kind of forced with some moral dilemmas, about, certain people in certain roles have to be in person. Just by virtue of their role and responsibility, and whereas some of the more support functions, accounting and so on, maybe they could work from home. So we started grappling with those issues about, well, is that fair? Is that, do we feel comfortable with that? That some people are maybe at a different risk than others. Should we be showing solidarity with each other in this, right? And so all these conversations started really having, we had to unpack and unravel. And a lot of them, were quite passionate conversations about where we stood on that. I think at the end of the day, we came to the right balance, realizing that unfortunately, you had to look at the function and how people could be effective. And the reality is a lot of people can be effective working remotely. And we've proven that. It was kind of maybe a question mark in the past. And now it's been not only put to test, but it's been put to test for quite a period of time now to validate that. Maybe others can speak to that as well.
Yeah, Chris or Brad, I mean, I would love to hear kind of what you guys are thinking along those lines as well as just also like in addition to adapting your office space and making a lot of changes out on the job site, really, physical things, digital things. There's a lot of different tools that you guys are deploying in these different situations, as well as just like your use of instruction site. Did the way that you use that tool change, or did it mostly stay the same? I'd love to hear about that as well.
Yeah, I think Clay said it best. I mean, we were feeling around in the dark often on this and trying to sort through all of the different guidance that we were or recommendations we were receiving and trying to make good decisions, for our people. We applied all of the same practices that we learned going through this in the field within our offices, we wanted to make sure we didn't have, any kind of double standards where the offices were doing this and the field personnel were expected to do something different. So I think we took advantage of the lessons we were learning in the field, applied those to all of our offices. Certainly put technology to use. We had been using Struction Site on a number of our projects throughout the various regions, and we started relying more and more heavily on that. First and foremost, just trying to keep the number of folks down that were on and interacting on our projects. So taking full advantage of the 360 camera and the photo document options that we get within Struction Site, using them to help and assist in our owner coordination meetings, helping them to assist with communicating with our design partners that we're all working remotely. Just documenting our efforts in and around how we were keeping people safe, whether it was the 6-foot queuing in the morning, the temperature check stations, the kind of documentation of, our PPE efforts. We utilized it a lot. And I think it's been instrumental in our operations ever since. And obviously that's led us to the relationship we have now with an enterprise agreement with you all. So we owe you a big thank you for all of that.
We're obviously honored and just glad that we could help in any way. So that's fantastic to hear. Brad, I'm gonna zoom us 8 months forward here. We're here today. And obviously this is all address this broadly to all of you guys. I'll start with you, Brad. What have you learned and what will you continue to do as you go forward?
Well, one of the I don't want to know benefits the right word, but one of the things we observed was a dramatic decrease in our recordable injuries. So those are our lost time injuries, our recordable injuries, a significant decrease. And what we talked about was there was a large amount of planning that went into all of our work over the last 8 or 9 months. I mean, we really knew where everybody was at any moment, and we really planned out the work. So the outcome was a dramatic decrease in injuries. So what it also points to is I don't see ever in my career a time where operations and safety worked closer. I mean, we worked hand in glove with them. We really tapped into their knowledge and their experience for sharing the best practices, and we were able to take that information and share it right across the company. We were pulling information from overseas in Sweden and Norway and taking some of their best practices as well and sharing that with operations. So for me going forward, it just strengthens that need to work with operations as closely as possible.
Yeah, Chris and Clay, what about you guys? Just major learnings and things you want to do going forward?
Well,
I think, go ahead, Chris.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll just build a little bit on what Brad said about, collaboration. I think collaborating across disciplines within the company. The one thing about COVID is it really it had so many angles to it. It impacted safety, operations, virtually every employee in the company. So many times you face challenges that are, fairly discrete, focused challenges you have to deal with with a particular client or particular project. This was just all encompassing. So it really tested our organization, where we had to cut across all the groups, bring people to the table in a very inclusive way to make sure we were hitting all the issues. And I think that's a key thing, how to collaborate. And then once you've kind of figured something out in one location, how do you share that knowledge across the organization? Those were key things that I think going forward, we just have a renewed appreciation for. And then also just communication. we started ramping up a level of communication that our leadership had with the employees, video town hall meetings, things of that nature, to really make people feel connected and informed along the way. And Chris was a big part of that, and can speak to that as well, the importance of that.
Yeah, I'd like to start. I think COVID-19 was obviously a common enemy for all of us, and what I really saw is the industry really rally together to work together to get this thing solved. And the creativity and the innovation that I saw coming out of our craft workers, our subcontractor partners, their willingness to share those best practices across our projects and job sites, which ultimately leads to us sharing those across the country. I was incredibly proud of our industry and the way we responded to this. And you go out to our job sites, and it's not a question if you're going to see people in masks or not. People are doing the right things, and it was kind of a proud moment for all of us, just to see the response that our industry has brought forward. We talk often a lot about some of I would say the bad things of COVID-19. I think, from our industry's perspective, there's been a couple silver linings. I would say, one of those is just, like I said, the innovation that we've brought forward. And I would also add, we have always fought as an industry the concept of working remotely. And how can we work virtually and actually still perform construction services? And we have now proven as an industry that we actually can do that. So I'm envisioning that even when COVID is behind us and we do have a vaccine, I think we will forever change the way we work as we move forward into the future. So I would say there's probably some good things that have come out of this.
Yeah, just on that note, I know that even in a previous discussion, we had talked about, some heroes and some really fantastic stories that have come out of this. Anything else that you guys want to share relative to that before we wrap up the end of our session here?
I think, one of the things, maybe not an example of a hero, but one of the things I think we quickly realized is we were looking at the data every day, looking at the cases. One of the things we came to understand is that we needed to focus more of our time and energy on the personal side of our employees and subcontractors. We're very focused in on job site safety and making sure people are safe and healthy on our job sites. But we actually did a refresher campaign to share these best practices outside of the job sites and with their friends and their families about, traveling and making sure social distancing took place outside of the job site. So I think that was something that, looking back, we probably would have looked at doing some sort of communication a little bit earlier. But based upon what we knew at the time, we were so focused in on the job site. But I think that work-life balance thing and ensuring that we're looking at the personal side of our workers is just as important.
I think another thing too was, the way that the virus unfolded around the country, situations varied. The situation in New York was not the same as the situation in Cincinnati. And, if we had tried to dictate everything from central management, we would have just put handcuffs on people to the point it wouldn't have made any sense. We did our part to push knowledge and share knowledge as people were learning things in New York where it was a hot zone, and pass those learnings along to other offices. But to be honest, some of our best innovations, our best solutions came from the front lines of our offices and our projects. And a big responsibility we had as a leadership team was to harness that and figure out a way to connect the dots around the company and let our people who are out there solving the issues real time every day with real innovative thought and give them a platform to do that and connect them all. And I think that was a big secret to our success, is we weren't trying to solve everything and from the central office. We were really trying to connect our people. They were the champions. They were the heroes out there that really kept things moving.
Yeah. I'll give you a little insight into, you know, our maybe some more details on our Struction site usage too, because I think it's pretty telling. But before all this began, we had about 50 different projects that were playing around with Struction site and kicking the tires. We had about 400 to 500 users that were playing with the system, about 50,000 photographs roughly. Since March, we have over 265 projects now on the system. We have over 1,100 users of that. We're gaining projects almost every day. 202,000 new photos. So it's being utilized at a very, very high level, and I think in part it's a testament that you all have the right product for the right time right now. So thank you for all the help with that.
Yeah, that's again really great to hear, and obviously very exciting. Certainly a pandemic is not exciting, but I think, as you guys have mentioned, there are some silver linings here in things that you guys have learned going forward. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for joining us here. Obviously, I'm just listening to you guys talk about what some of these experiences have been and how you guys prepared and executed through the pandemic. You've clearly shown that Skanska is a model for how to make a tough time workable. And so, yeah, definitely hats off to you guys for really planning, executing, and getting through this in the best possible way. Proud of you guys, proud of our industry as well. And just as you are, Chris, in the way that we've all responded to this. So with that, I will close our session out and say thank you guys very much for joining us here. Very much appreciate you guys as a partner and look forward to continue to work with you in the future.
Welcome to Struction Site. We offer a fast, easy approach to documenting and organizing your photos on the job site. Struction Site gives you the ability to add context to your photos and videos by applying their location to your drawing. To get started, you can add drawings from your computer or from integrations such as Procore, PlanGrid, and BIM 360. Then, add team members and permissions such as administrator, collaborator, and view only. If you want to access your drawings, click on the side navigation or into your organized folder. You can see that this drawing has a number of arrows and pins. The blue pins are standard 2D flat photos taken with a phone, tablet, or uploaded from your computer, and the orange pins are 360-degree images. When you click to open a 360-degree image, you'll see that we're able to navigate in all directions, above, below, and all around. We also have a time-lapse view that stores all of your progress photos taken on this pin at different times, so you can compare them side by side in our split view. Here, we can align the photos, and you're able to see what's behind the wall. If you see an issue, you can click on the photo and create an RFI or observation in Procore, or create a chat with Struction Site to communicate with your team or other stakeholders. In closing, Struction Site takes automated site capture to the next level by translating daily project updates into actionable insights that will transform your operations. You'll be able to reduce rework, streamline communication, and minimize risk on all of your projects. Get in touch with our team to learn more and start using Struction Site today.
SmartTrack quantifies the percentage complete using the imagery captured through site documentation. This automated production tracking tool makes tracking visible scopes of work an organized and seamless process. SmartTrack's dashboard provides powerful project health metrics through a streamlined interface. At a glance, answers to questions like, am I on schedule or am I going over budget, become crystal clear. The dashboard graphically displays by floor material usage, weekly production rates, and cumulative percentage complete. Pulling data directly from site imagery, walls, ceilings, framing, and drywall are mapped to your floor plan. Each layer is color-coded by material and installation status, making it easier than ever to understand a project's progress and the areas that are lagging behind. Reviewing a project's history can be done in an instant, making it possible to easily compare a previous date's install status and material usage to present day, or identify what on the floor is remaining. Ability to track the rate at which trades are installed, you'll be able to track and manage budgets, track material installed, identify schedule concerns, increase profitability, and manage and mitigate risk. Stay on track. Eliminate the busy work by using visual data to make better decisions faster. Reach out to our team today to learn more and get started with SmartTrack.